What's up, people? This is Sifurian, and right now I'm going to answer a question that I got for my first ever Q&A for the month of May. And I feel like I need to answer this question a bit more in depth. So the question was, if you could give us a history of your gaming background, how long you've been playing, etc., your best video game memory. And I believe this is from someone called Cody. Okay, I'm 35 years old. Well, I'll be 36 at the end of May. I was born on the 28th of May. I've been pretty much gaming from day one, basically. My first ever gaming computer was a Commodore 64. Me and my brother got it for Christmas. And on the day that we opened it up, Christmas Day, it wouldn't work. It was broke. It was just... We had to wait a few days before we could take it back to the shop. So that Christmas kind of sucked a little bit. But when we finally got a chance to take it back to the shop, they didn't have no more Commodore 64, so we had to get a Spectrum. I will never forget the sound it made when it was loading up a game. Like, it was like the most nastiest, like, It was a pretty cool machine, but the only memory I've really got of it was playing Paperboy. I sat there for hours, like, throwing fucking papers at houses. But my early gaming memory was when I played Mario for the first time. My cousin Ryan had a NES, and I remember going around to his house and he showed me a Duck Hunt first because of the gun and everything. It was just pretty cool to like shoot a gun at the TV and hit shit. But then he put Mario on and it just blew my mind, man. Like those graphics, sounds silly talking about it now, but those graphics, the sound, that was my childhood, man. The first time I ever played Mario on the NES. And looking back on it now, like I think I can safely say that that game taught me how to be a gamer. Those first few levels was pretty much a tutorial on how to play platformers, you know what I mean? So everything I know about gaming comes from Mario, man. Now some time went by and me and my brother, eventually we got our own NES. And I remember playing a shitload of Mario. And Turtles. That Turtles game, like that game... I admit, I never finished it. It was just too damn hard. It was just too damn annoying. I could not fucking, like, just... It did my head in, but at the same time, I loved it. I fucking loved that game, man. I also had, like, a Turtle handheld as well. It was, like, a green one. Like, that was cool when, like, you ran, like, along the top platform, then went down into the water and you had to, like, defuse a bomb. That fucking handheld was badass, man. So eventually we moved up and upgraded to the Super Nintendo. And I played a shitload of Super Mario World, man. I'm not going to lie. I played so much of it. And like my mum used to love watching me play it. And she used to keep telling me to slow down because I used to try and speed through the levels as quick as I can. But I've got very clear memories of playing Zelda, Link to the Past. I remember playing Donkey Kong Country, fucking Joe and Mac. Joe and Mac, I love Joe and Mac. I've got quite a few fond memories of the Super Nintendo, man. I really, really do. That was actually where I played my first ever first-person shooter. It was Doom. But I've got very clear memories of running through those first few missions, just killing shit with rocket launchers, and you know, I fucking loved it. I loved Doom so much, man. Like, don't get me wrong, we showed a lot of love to Sega too. Like, we had a Sega Dreamcast and shit as well. I played so many fucking hours of Sonic. It wasn't even funny. So many hours. I remember playing like Altered Beast. I loved Altered Beast. There was something about that game. Mortal Kombat 2, I think I've actually still got that somewhere. I've still got the cartridge somewhere. But yeah, man, I loved that console. It was so cool. Now, around this time, my local video shop, where you could go and rent VHS tapes, they basically had this back room that was filled with like loads of porn. I went in there one day and I overheard some music and I kind of like looked around the corner because I weren't really allowed to look around there. Because there'll be like some old man kind of standing in the corner like this. But no, they had took out all the porn tapes. I guess they must have put them in like the second floor or down in the basement or fucking somewhere. But they had cleared it out and they just stuck a few arcade cabinets in there. They had like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and stuff. I've got very, very like clear memories of being in that arcade for ages after school. Like, even when I didn't have money to play, I would just stand there and watch other kids fucking play, and I would pick up little tactics and on how they would play footsies and different shit. Like, it was ridiculous how much I got into fighting games, man, just from being in that arcade. I would get money off my mom and go in there and start playing and like figuring out characters. Like the first character I played with was Guile, and then I figured out like Ryu or Ken was like probably the two best ones to pick. I started hammering kids, man. Like I just kind of picked it up kind of naturally. I got into a couple of fist fights and scuffles because other kids couldn't take losing, or they beat me in some type of cheap way, you know. Like one thing that I saw on like a regular basis, like later on in the evening, when a lot of the older kids would come in, it's like if you beat them in like a cheap way, like they would crack an elbow in your face, like no fucking around. I saw straight up fights and kids getting pushed up against the side of arcade cabinets and robbed for all their money. Like I saw some real fucked up things in there, man. But looking back on it, I think that kind of installed this kind of gaming ethic that I've carried with me for the rest of my life. Like, you know, you play hard, you play to win. If you win, you win. You lose, you lose. But if you win by a cheap way, then expect a crack in the face, basically. You know, like, play fair. You know, don't use dirty tactics just because you're getting outplayed. You know, it's like, but then some people will have an argument like, well, what do you deem as being cheap and dirty? Like, it's a tactic, you should know how to counter it. Like, I've had this argument 101 times. Now, I could talk about this shit for ages, but I won't. But one thing that I really took away from the whole experience was my love for beat-em-ups. Like, it just kind of planted the seed, and over the years it's bloomed, it's blossomed, you know. And around this time, the PlayStation 1 first came out. Like, my God, man, the Street Fighter Alpha series on that machine, like, fuck me. All my brother's mates, my mates used to come around and we used to sit and play and I used to beat them. Street Fighter Alpha was my shit. My mate Gary, like, he ended up getting Street Fighter Alpha 2 and we never really kind of came head to head until Street Fighter Alpha 3. That was the one. Like, my mate Gary and my mate David, like, they used to both come around. Like, David always used to pick Ken, Gary always used to pick Akuma, I was Ryu. I remember playing this game, and we would have kind of like a tally, like the first one to like 100 wins. And we'll just keep marking it off and just keep playing back and forth. If you lose, you pass the pad on. Fuck me, man. We sat there for hours playing that game. David was a good player with Ken, but it got to the point where, like, we kind of figured him out. You know, like, we kind of knew what he was going to do before he even did it. You know what I mean? Gary was a good challenge. And it got to the point where he started figuring me out. And that pissed me off. Like, I'm not going to lie, I was pissed off, man. I can't remember exactly what time period, but I clearly remember looking online for like some type of a guide, some type of like tutorial of how to play with Ryu. And I remember I found this one guide by some kid that lives in Japan. And he had all like these combos and shit. And I sat there practicing and playing, trying to figure out these combos. So I wrote out all these combos and stuff and all these little tactics, and I started playing and just went up against the computer and started like practicing combos and tactics and stuff. It got to the point where I had like these major blisters on my thumbs. But a few days went by and the time came, Gary and David came round. David had kind of given up at this point, he would just watch. But me and Gary went at it, and I whooped his ass. Every single fucking match, I was knocking out combos. My whole tactic had changed. He was like, fuck me, someone's been training. It's like, man, if you only knew. So he upgraded to Shin Akuma to try and counter the type of shit that I was doing. Like, we had so many good battles, man. Even to this day, me and Gary still have kind of heated discussions when we meet up for a drink and stuff about who actually won and got to the first 100 wins. You know what I mean? Like, it was ridiculous. But yeah, man, the PlayStation 1 was an amazing machine. It really, really was. Very fond memories. Like, I remember playing Resident Evil for the first time, and like that game, man. Like when you're in like the main hall, like you're going around trying to get the key to open up the door, and you go into like that small little hallway, and as you're running down, the fucking dogs jump through the window. I'm not gonna lie, I shit myself. I jumped so fucking much when they bounced through that window, man. That game was so good, man. But like other games I played, like I don't remember exactly which one, but it was a Tony Hawk's where you could play as Spider-Man. Because I'm really big in the comics, so to like have Spider-Man and have him doing flips and shit was just fucking like mind blowing for me. But the one game that will stand out for me, and it will stay with me for the rest of my life, man, no joke. The one game above all others was Final Fantasy VII. Like, God, amazing game. I think that was the first game that I ever played that actually made me cry. I'm not gonna lie, like, I'm not even ashamed to admit it. Like when certain things happen in that game, like, I don't want to ruin it, like, with spoilers and shit, because there's bound to be people watching this who has never played it, and they're gonna be playing it for the first time with the remake that's coming. So I won't ruin it for you guys. But that game, man, like, I'm sat there playing it, and I'm crying. Like, what the hell? Why am I crying? It was so fucking good, man. Oh, I can't wait to play that game again. I really, really can't. But like always, every couple of years you have to upgrade your console. And I remember when me and my brother got a N64. Fuck, man, Mario 64 just looked amazing. I remember thinking to myself how great this game fucking looked. But I remember playing a shitload of Zelda. You know, Ocarina of Time. Fuck, man, that game was fucking amazing. And GoldenEye on the N64, fucking amazing game, man. Like, my brother, a lot of his mates would come round on like a Friday night, and like we would all sit together and play that fucking game. Oh my God. But another big game that was on that console for me was WWF No Mercy. Like, anyone who's played that game, you will know, right? As far as I'm concerned, that was the definitive wrestling game. No other game has ever come close to WWF No Mercy. Just the gaming mechanics was just so fucking good. Like, I do actually miss playing that game. I really, really do. I remember spending hours updating all the characters and changing their outfits and shit. And around this time, I think we had a Sega Dreamcast as well. You know, of course, like, you played like Crazy Taxi and fucking Soul Calibur. I love Soul Calibur. But it was Crazy Taxi, Soul Calibur, Jet Set Radio was another fucking good one. But at the time, this was the only device that we had in the house that could connect to the internet. I think that's actually where I went online to find the strategy guides of how to play Ryu in Street Fighter Alpha 3. Like, no joke. But I seem to remember the only reason I used the internet feature of the Sega Dreamcast was to check out Tommy's bookmarks. If you know what that is, give this video a thumb up. If you don't worry about it. But but like always, as time goes by, you have to upgrade your consoles again. And I remember getting my PlayStation 2, man. Like, this machine was beautiful. You turned it on and the effects came on. Like, oh my God, I was in love with the PlayStation 2, man. It was a fucking amazing fucking machine. Black and blue, like my favorite colors as well. Just looked so fucking good, man. My first game was Tekken Tag. Right, my first ever game was Tekken Tag. In fact, hold on. These are the only games that I've still got. Tekken Tag and Def Jam Fight for New York. If you don't know what this is kind of like a hip-hop version of WWF No Mercy. But just a little bit better with the gaming mechanics. They need to do a new one of this. Right, the whole Def Jam icons was bullshit. New one, please. New Def Jam game. But Tekken Tag was so fucking good, man. But funny story about this though, like, you know how the PlayStation 2 could kind of stand up on its side? My brother and all of his mates was round and was all playing, and I think we're having a couple of drinks or something. Like, back then, all the controllers was wired, and I had the PlayStation standing up, and so we sat there, we're playing, and one of my brother's mates, I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to embarrass him, but he like got up and went to step over the cables and got caught and pulled the console off the fucking top, and it banged and the fucking game froze. It's the same disc, and I don't know if you can see this, but it's put a burn on the disc. I don't know if you can see that. I'm not gonna lie, man, I was so upset. I was so angry and upset, man. Like, I fucking love this game. But yeah, man, like, the PlayStation 2 was an amazing machine. I remember playing the shit out of Devil May Cry 3. I clocked up so many hours playing that game. Burnout Revenge. I think, even to this day, Burnout Revenge is the only racing game that I ever really liked. to be honest with you. I've never really been big into racing games, but Burnout Revenge was just so fucking cool, man. Now, it's kind of hard for me to talk about, you know, all the games that I used to play on the PlayStation 2 because I played so many, because my PlayStation was modded, so I could play copied games. So every game that came out, I pretty much played on it, you know. Now, when I say modded, I don't mean that I just gave it a custom paint job and I just thought this could fuck up on the green screen, but it's got a special flip top. So what you would do, you would put in a special disc first, close it up, load it up. It would load up like the base, kind of like the foundation of the game, and then it would ask you to install the copied game. So you would open it up, take the disc out, put in the copied disc, close it up, let it load, and you can play the copied game, no problem. Yeah, man. So yeah, man, I guess you could say I played a lot of different games. Now, it was around this time that my brother and his mates used to play a lot of football games. Me personally, like, I was never really big into football. I'm generally not into like a lot of sports anyway. But my brother, like, he knows football, like, or soccer if you live in America. But like, he knows his shit. Like, he's the type of person that could tell you this player transferred from this team to that team and for how much money back in 1962. You know what I mean? He knows his shit when it comes to football. You know what I mean? Now, they used to play football, but they wasn't a fan of FIFA. They played a game called Pro Evolution Soccer. But it wasn't called Pro Evolution Soccer. They played a game called Winning 11. Now, the difference is Winning 11 is like the Japanese title. Pro Evolution Soccer is the Western world title. But it's more or less the same game. Like, my brother used to get his hands on a copy and we used to burn off a disc and we used to just stick it in and play it. Now, the difference between Winning 11 or Pro Evolution Soccer and FIFA was the fact that FIFA, of course, had all the copyrights. So Pro Evolution Soccer or Winning 11 had like kind of fake teams. But we used to play it a lot. And then one day, all my brother's mates came round and my brother was like, I've got a brand new disc. Puts it into the machine, boots it up, and all the graphics had been changed. All the ad boards had been changed. Or the kits had been updated with the proper sponsors and everything. And it turns out that there's this big, massive, like, hacking, modding community online on the Evo forums. I don't even know if they're still around. But back then, they were called the Evo forums. And you could download the kits and everything. And being a very creative person, this was like, I've got to get into this shit. But like, the way that it would work, right, is you would have a brand new, fresh copy of the game. And you would download like a patch, then you would install the patch, burn it off, stick it in the machine, and done. I thought, I've got to get in on this action, so I started creating my own fucking menus, my own kits, my own ad boards and shit. I did post some of them onto the Evo forums, but I got my hands on some of the FIFA audio commentary files. And I thought, how cool would it be to put that into, you know, Winning 11? So I started slowly transferring the audio files over. And I got like maybe 25 to 30% through. Did all like the basic commentary stuff, and I was going through the teams and shit. And I went onto the Evo forums one day, and somebody else had already done it. It was finished. The patch was up online, and all you had to do was download it, put it on, and install it, and done. 2-3 days of work for nothing. So that was a bastard. But I was really big into it for a long time. But yeah, man, I absolutely love the PlayStation 2. Like, I was like a complete fanboy of the PlayStation 2, man. Like, I stopped playing the N64, had no time for the Dreamcast. I was all PlayStation 2. And then one day, my brother came home with an Xbox. And he had a couple of games and, you know, nothing that really caught my attention. And I actually thought the Xbox looked fucking ugly. It was like this big black fucking box thing, fucking looked like a VHS fucking player. Like, it was terrible. The only game that I think that kind of stood out for me when he first got it was it Abe's Odyssey or Oddworld or something like that? It was one of the Abe games. As an artist, that game really caught my attention. But he turned around to me one day and said, well, I've got this one game you might like. It's called Halo. So he puts it on and I fell in love, man. I'm not gonna lie, man. That first mission, right, when the fucking ship's blowing up and like you gotta travel to the fucking brig, you pick up Cortana, then you're off on this battle and the ship's blowing up, there's aliens popping up everywhere, fucking music's kicking in. Like I am so engrossed into this game, like I'm in love with it, man. Like the first Halo, I played that game, I played the Halo campaign so many times. I could probably do speed runs now. It was ridiculous. The only time I ever played any like multiplayer was when my brother's mates came around and we played like 4-player split screen. Well, I absolutely hated because people used to look on my screen to see where I was and shit because I was so much better than them, like fucking bastards. And then the time came for my brother to go to university and he took the Xbox with him. And I was just left with my PlayStation 2 and a Dreamcast and an N64 and it was like, I miss Halo. And then there was all these rumours and talk about Halo 2 coming. So it was like, okay, I need to get an Xbox. So I bought an Xbox and I've still got it. So it's dirty and grubby as hell, but I still got my Xbox. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. When I first got this machine, I bought Halo 2 as well. And I could have literally glued up the front of the disc tray because the only game that was in this machine was Halo 2 and nothing else. Like, I played the campaign so many times. It's not even funny. The multiplayer was where I fucking lived though, man. Oh my god, the amount of matches I played. But, like always, every couple of years, you have to upgrade. And the only reason I got an Xbox 360 was because Halo 3 was coming. And you could still play Halo 2 on the Xbox 360, so I thought, hey, win-win. So I upgraded and I still played Halo 2. But a couple of weeks went by and I thought, okay, I've got this brand new machine. I might as well get some new games. So I bought Dead or Alive 4 and Call of Duty 2. And man, like Call of Duty 2 was my shit. Like, I'm not gonna lie, man. Like, I got that game and I put it on veteran and I played it. It took me a long fucking time to finish it, but I remember playing with headphones on. I cranked it up fucking really loud, had bullets flying over my head, fucking bombs going off, like crawling in the trenches. It was so fucking hard because it was like as soon as you went to like stand up or like you were out in the open and you got hit like 2-3 shots, you're fucking dead. You know what I mean? Like I'm fucking there, World War II, in the trenches, covered in mud. I actually had dreams afterwards, man. Like no joke, literally dreams. I would have like visions of being in World War II. And then of course Halo 3 was a big game. Gears of War. Gears of War was the one where I got addicted to multiplayer gaming. But it's kind of funny because when I first got it, I went online and I got fucking raped. Like they could have tied me up, duct taped me, bent me over and went balls deep every fucking match. Like I couldn't play. I was fucking terrible. So all I played was the campaign. Like fucking, I completed it on the hardest game setting and everything. And some time went by and I thought, okay, I'm going to go back to the multiplayer, give it a second shot. I started playing and I came across this one guy called Hannibal and he used to play on canals. But being like the weak link on the team, I'm not ashamed to admit it, I would die a lot and I would always like switch on to Hannibal and watch him. And just watch how he moves, how he would wall bounce, how he would use the shotgun. My basics of how to play Gears of War, I picked up from him. You know what I mean? He didn't directly teach me anything. I just learned everything off him. And so like he would move around the map in a certain way. So like the next game would start and I would come running in and I would try and move the exact same way that he did. I really did learn a lot of him. And even to this day, I still kind of admit that he taught me how to play Gears of War, man. Like, no joke. And I will never forget that. You know, I will never forget Hannibal for that. You know, and then, of course, there was Call of Duty 4. Like, I played that game to death, man. Oh, my God, did I love Call of Duty 4. Like, the Xbox 360 for me, like, my early memories was Gears of War, Halo 3, and fucking Call of Duty 4, man. Around this time that, like, Modern Warfare 2 came out and stuff, I got a PlayStation 3 and I had fucking, you know, God of War, fucking Killzone 2 was a fucking great game. But the online component of the Xbox 360 made the console better. Like when I played the PlayStation 3, I felt like I was just playing bots. You know, it didn't really feel like I was a part of an online community. But with the Xbox, as soon as you went online, I felt like I was a part of this big global online community, you know what I mean? And I think in retrospect, that was probably a part of my downfall, because I got a bit too wrapped up in the whole online kind of community and getting really competitive in games, getting in arguments about KD and shit that don't fucking matter. Like when Gears of War 2 came out, like I had my own fucking clan. Like we used to go on game battles and go to war with other teams. And then like Gears 3 came out, and like I gave up playing on a competitive level when Gears 3 came out, because the sawn off and the retro lancer, it just pissed me off. I wasn't having fun anymore. And just looking back on it, I just got too wrapped up in that whole online type of shit, you know what I mean? I started dating someone online as well. Like, I recommend you never do that. Never date anyone that you met over Xbox Live. Fucking never do it. Meet them in person first. And if they don't want to meet you, or if they keep coming up with excuses to why you can't meet, then there's some reason why. Like for me, like, she turned out not to be the person who I thought she was. Let's just say that, you know. But looking back on it, in retrospect, the whole experience was just damaging mentally and emotionally. It fucked me up, you know. I was just too engrossed in fucking arguments and discussions, and you know, I became very kind of emo, I guess you could say. Like it does, like you kind of get so zoned in with that whole online thing, like just, and the smallest things in my head, I would blow them out of proportion. You know, arguments that would mean nothing in the real world. On Xbox, it was like the end of the fucking world. You know what I mean? Like, it was just really mind fucking every day. Like, and I'm so glad I'm away from it now. Like, I'll say like the last 3 years, like I'm still a gamer. I still will sit here and play games, but I kind of intentionally try and keep away from that whole online social type of thing. I very rarely play with people. I tend to just kind of just play solo. I play a lot of free-for-all. I play a lot of gun game on Call of Duty Ghosts. A big part of me does want to get back to playing with people, especially you guys. Like I would love to play games with you guys, but I don't think I will ever go back to the way that I used to be. Like I used to go to sleep with the headset on and wake up and play. You know what I mean? Like best thing I ever did was unplug, man. Really, really was. But like I said, for like the last 3 years or so, I've kind of just kept myself to myself. Had a lot of personal stuff happen in my life as well. My mother fell ill and she passed away in 2014. Last year, 2015, my dog, who was more or less like my best friend, my Rottweiler, he fell ill and I had to have him put down. And then this year, my father passed away in March. So yeah, I've had a lot of personal stuff happen to me. So even though I've had all this shit going on, I've still come back to gaming. You know, it's helped me to take my mind off stuff and kind of get lost in games and characters and shit. I've always had a strong passion for gaming, and I think I always will. Like right now, I have an Xbox One. I'm holding out to get a PlayStation 4. Originally, I was holding out because I wanted to get it with the VR and stuff. But then there's all these rumors about the PlayStation 4K, so I'm going to wait. I'll probably get it around the end of the year because money is a bit tight for me at the moment. Quick little backstory, like when my mother and father was alive, they were more or less housebound and stuff, and I had to stay home and look after them. I was technically their carer. But when my father passed away, there was this big fear that I was going to lose the house, and if I lost the house, I would have been homeless. I mean, literally on the streets, you know, homeless. But luckily, the landlord has let me take on the house. It's all in my name and everything. But with that comes extra responsibility and money, and I'm trying to keep this house running on a very low budget. Like I've calculated like how much money I've got coming in and how much I've got going out each month. Like what's left is £43. I've got £43 a month to live on for food. You know, expenses like buying new games or new lights or new mics or whatever is kind of tricky at the moment, so we'll see how things kind of play out in the future. My goal is eventually I will get a PlayStation 4 at some point. I might have some graphic design jobs coming up near the end of the year where I can make a bit of money, so we'll see how it goes. Or you might never know, this channel might blow up and I might start earning thousands off my videos. Like, crazier things have happened in life, man. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I've kind of given you a bit more of an insight into who I am, and I think this would be like my second like video that I'm going to upload that's pretty long. So like, comment down below, man, like, do you enjoy these long videos where I'm just talking, or do you want me to like kind of cut it up a bit more, make it shorter, or possibly even break it up over like different parts, like part 1, part 2, part 3? Like, I don't know, like, let me know. This is the first time I've ever done a Q&A, so, and being my first one, I thought I got to really get a lot of information off. Hopefully I'm not going to have to say the same things over and over again in later videos. But yeah, man, give this video a thumb up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you haven't already, man. Alright? I've been Sif Fury. I'll catch you in the next one, man.